Baroness Jacquie Smith, as I said, Minister of State for Skills and for Women and Equalities. Minister, thanks very much for being with us. It's good to get you this morning, and good morning to you. First of all, I do want to talk to you about what we've seen at Glastonbury over the weekend. You'll have seen some of the reporting this morning. I mean, what's your assessment of what should happen now to the band, to the BBC and to the festival?
Well, first of all, these were clearly comments that overstepped the mark. I'm surprised that the BBC carried on broadcasting them live when it was obvious what was happening. I understand that complaints have been made about what was said in terms of its incitement to violence, and I think that's for the police to consider. And I think the BBC also have questions to answer about how they continued to broadcast this for the time that they did. And just also to say, you know, having been to Glastonbury myself, I've got no doubt that there were lots of people at Glastonbury over the weekend who were also remembering the music festival in Israel on the 7th of October in 2023, where young people got grabbed from that music festival, kidnapped and murdered, and will want to reflect on that as well.
So, do you think what was said was, in fact, incitement to violence as a former Home Secretary? If you can put that hat on for me for a moment.
Look, I think there's no doubt that it crossed the line. I'm clear about that. The organisers of the Glastonbury Festival are clear about that. The extent to which it's a criminal offence and the police take action is obviously for the police themselves to decide. But it shouldn't have happened, and it shouldn't have been broadcast live.
Just quickly then, on the broadcasting of it, I believe it was streamed by the BBC. What should now happen with the corporation? Should there be sanctions? I mean, there are calls for some of the top management to be sacked.
Well, look, the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, has already talked to Tim Davie at the BBC. I'm glad that the BBC have been very clear that this footage will not be on iPlayer, and nor should it be. But I think the BBC do need to answer questions about how this happened in the first place, given that they were trying to take extra care to ensure that it didn't.
Baroness Smith, let's just move on to some politics now, if you don't mind. I do want to talk about welfare reforms, of course, but I also want to ask you about your brief and what you're here to talk to us about this morning. But just first on the welfare situation, the vote's due tomorrow. The government has now made concessions. Some of the main rebels have been placated. But is there more that can be done to bring colleagues along? There's still reporting that there could be as many as 50 who end up voting against the government tomorrow.
Well, I think what's happened is that there has been real and helpful engagement with backbench MPs over the details of what's going to happen in this legislation. I think most MPs understand that what we've got here is a welfare system that is broken, that keeps people out of work when they should be being supported into work, and that doesn't provide enough support for those people who will never be able to work. Now, those are the changes that this bill is aimed at making. But the fact that we've been able, in consultation with Labour MPs, to also say there won't be changes for those people who are currently on PIP, providing some security to them, and also that Stephen Timms, the Minister for Disability, alongside disabled people, will look in detail at how the assessment for PIP actually works. That's the first time in 10 years of PIP that the proper review like this has happened. And I hope, therefore, people will feel able tomorrow at second reading to vote for the reform, to vote for the principles of this change, and, of course, to be reassured by what the government has already said. And I know that Liz Kendall, the Work and Pensions Secretary, will have more to say about the details of that today. We cannot continue to sit on a broken Tory welfare system that doesn't support people and that locks people out of work. And that's the reform that this government needs to make.
So those more details are going to come later, as you say, from Liz Kendall. But if those rebels, I know they don't like that word, but if those rebels still vote against the government tomorrow, what should be the punishment?
Well, look, I don't think talking about punishments, even as a former chief whip, is the constructive way forward here. What we've done, and it's always the case in legislation, you know, this one has been particularly serious and particularly difficult, but it's always the case in legislation that you introduce the bill, you have a second reading on the principles, and then you think about the detail as you take that through all of its stages in Parliament. I'm sure that will continue to happen, and alongside that, we'll be seeing Stephen Timms' review of the PIP system alongside disabled people. We'll be seeing more money being brought forward more quickly in order to support people back into work. But I know that people will also be focused on the fact that, you know, we have a system at the moment where 1 in 8 young people is not earning or learning, where 1 in 10 of our population are not in work, the highest level in Western Europe. This is a broken system, and it's a Labour government that needs to reform it, working with disabled people and working as we have been with Labour MPs.
Baroness Smith, you've made the argument. The Prime Minister is attempting to make that argument now, but admitted over the weekend that he may have taken his eye off the ball.
No, absolutely not. I mean, you know, it's always, realistically, as I know from quite a lot of experience, it's always the case that there will be discussions about reforms, and then, in this case, or in many cases, the bill is published. That focuses people down on the detail, and there have been a lot of detailed conversations where MPs have quite rightly brought their experiences from their constituencies about how the reforms will work, and the government has already responded to that in some of the changes that are being made before the second reading tomorrow. And the real focus came, as the Prime Minister has been clear, at the point at which we were all able, and he was able, to focus on the details of the bill. And I think that's been a constructive process. I hope MPs will recognise that, and I'm sure they will also recognise the need to reform the broken system that we've inherited from the Tories.
Now, Baroness Smith, you are here to talk about childcare places, something that parents, carers of young children will be very interested in. Just take us through what the government plan is on this. Well, we're really pleased today to be able to announce that our plan for building more nurseries linked to schools is not only on target but exceeding its targets to create additional 4,000 places by September, more than 4,000 places by September. And this is going to be really important for the working parents now getting up, getting their kids ready for school, because that's a tough old job. And as well, of course, as delivering on the entitlement for 30 hours of childcare from September, we're also rolling out breakfast clubs. We've now delivered 2 million breakfasts to children. We've been able to announce that we'll be extending free school meals to all families on universal credit. We'll be putting a cap on the costs of school uniforms. All of this helping families at that really sort of tough time when they're bringing up their children to have more money in their pockets and to help with cost of living, and also, importantly, to provide children with the very best start in life so that they can make the most of the rest of their education. Okay, Baroness Jacquie Smith, a big week ahead for the government. Of course, it's going to be happy anniversary as well by the end of the week. Do appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.